Call to order the December meeting of the Maumelle Planning Commission. Mr. Grummer, do we have any announcements?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. We have preliminary plats and development plans that have expired, which will require them to be resubmitted for Planning Commission approval in the future if they choose to move forward with development. I'll be sharing these at all future Planning Commission meetings, just for reference only. There's no actions that are required on this, but those are the water plant subdivision lots 1 and 2 preliminary plat, the Benson Park preliminary development plan, the Benson Park addition preliminary plat, and the Albright commercial preliminary development plan. Those items have expired. And final plats that have been recorded since the last meeting, which were previously approved by the Planning Commission, are the Lewis Nelson addition lot 1 and the Maumelle Town Center replat lot C1. And then lastly, we have received building plans for the Splash Car Wash and Oil and Lube for the Maumelle Town Center replat lot C1, which were approved earlier a few months ago. And then the splash pad construction groundbreaking happened this month, which construction should be finished by spring. And that concludes my announcements.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Grummer. We'll now move on to approval of the minutes. Commissioners, you've been provided a copy in your packets. Does anyone have any corrections to make to the minutes?
Make a motion, we approve minutes.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Those in favor, yes?
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Minutes are approved. We'll now move on. Seeing as we have no public comments on non-agenda items, I will open the public hearing, and without old business, we'll move straight to new business. Item number 1, the request to amend section 70-75 of the code. Mr. Grummer, staff report.
So this amendment is to allow the review and approval by staff of minor plats, being plats containing less than 4 lots, which elements being added or struck out are in the attached. Comments brought up to the subcommittee meeting are incorporated into the proposed ordinance change, including part B2, that all staff level approvals would be added to the next available Planning Commission agenda. In part C2, that the word staff be changed to Office of Planning and Permits, and C4, that original be added for type of copy and additional wording for the type of format required by the department's policy at the time of recordation. Also, there was an additional edit since the subcommittee on part C2, which includes striking the word, the number 4, pertaining to the number of copies to submit, and adding the wording, the drawing or survey shall be submitted in the format required by the Planning and Permits Department policy at the time of the application. Additional copies may be required if requested by the Planning and Permits staff. Since this is going to be, the amendment is meant to be staff review, then this gives us flexibility with how many and how we receive those copies for that. So staff recommends a do pass recommendation to City Council for approval of the proposed amendment to section 70-75.
Thank you, Mr. Grummer. Do any commissioners have any questions of staff or any comments?
I got one. In section 4, under approval, about the 7th line down, it says, of the final plat shall be furnished by the applicant to both the Planning Commission, and then, you know, the city clerk was striked out. So do we really need that both, or can we just line through that also?
Actually, that you mean where it says one original certified copy?
No, this is down about, yeah, after that.
Yeah, this is,
You're
That
correct,
same-
I'll type
yeah,
that out.
yeah, it's a hangover.
Further commissioner questions or comments?
Motion to recommend city council the code amendment for the request to amend section 7075 to allow staff review and approval of minor plants.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Those in favor, yes?
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Will be recommended. Moving on to item number 2, a request to amend section 70-101 and 102. Mr. Grummer, staff report.
This amendment to section 70-101 and 102 is meant to reduce the number of copies required to submit with applications for preliminary plat and development plan approvals. Currently, the ordinance requires 15 copies be submitted, but in the past, up to 24 copies have been required. Due to the changes with COVID-19, less copies have been requested, and not that the city is, and now that the city is moving to digital review, in an effort to reduce the amount of waste, staff is requesting this change. Comments from the subcommittee meeting have been incorporated into the attached proposed changes to the ordinance, including changing the number of minimum copies from 4 to 7 and changing requested to required on the number of additional copies that staff may need. Staff recommends a do pass recommendation to City Council for approval of the proposed amendment to section 70-101 and 102.
Thank you, Mr. Grummer. Any commissioner questions or comments?
I have a question. Scott, do you require them, when you get a packet in on the application, are you requiring that application to be all digital and PDF?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Further questions or comments? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the code amendment request to amend section 70-101 and section 70-102 to reduce the number of required copies for submission of a preliminary plat application.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Those in favor, yes?
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes. All right, I'll now close the public hearing and we'll move on to liaison reports. Meeting of December 7th. Commissioner Smith.
Yes, was the third reading of ordinance 1018, which was to amend the master street plan to allow, or to permit local streets to be paved a maximum width of 27 feet. A motion was made and it passed. The first reading of ordinance 1019, amending the Maumelle City Code to be designed and first reading of the ordinance amending sections of the Maumelle City Code to be designed and constructed to manage 25-year events in residential areas. And because it was the first reading, no action was required. And that was all.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. December 21st has not occurred yet. Just a reminder, Commissioner Fisher, that is yours. January 4th is mine, and January 19th, Commissioner Ramsey, that is yours. Does anyone have anything further?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Those in favor, yes?
Yes.
Those opposed, no. We are adjourned.